Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we're going to be taking a first look at 6-star generation to Elena, or Elena. I'm going to call her Elena. I think you can pronounce it either way, but I'm going to call her Elena just because it's actually easier to say, and I would probably find myself saying that by accident if I was trying to stick with Elena. Now this is what she looks like as a 5-star, and as a 6-star she looks like this. She gets buffed up in terms of visual design massively. The bow and arrow I love, the quiver, park ranger look, I do like the get up, it looks really great. There aren't too many characters in the game that have like a unique sort of look with bows and arrows and stuff, and it's nice for them to actually have something like that come into the game. You know, I want to see characters, you know, have crossbows and bows and arrows, because in the future with lack of ammo and stuff like that and being silent, I think this would be heavily utilized if I'm honest. Now we can't see her stats unfortunately because of the veteran rings. There's no optional button to see her base stats just yet. Hopefully that comes in the future, but she does look like she has balance towards her HP and defense, and her attack is lower than both of those stats. Now her trait is tough and her role is damage, which is kind of strange considering that attack is going to be lower. But when you look at her rush, which is called Sanguine Arrows, it's a 76 AP cost rush, and it deals 400 bleed damage for 3 turns to one enemy and all adjacent enemies. Those enemies get 100% heal reduction for 3 turns. So there's no percentage damage on that rush. She doesn't need base attack really at all. If that attack was like 500, it wouldn't be that big a deal. Obviously you would maybe want your basic attacks to do something just so you could finish someone off, but at the same time she doesn't need it. The more defense, the more HP she's got, the better it's going to be. She's kind of like Zachary in that way, that Zachary doesn't need any attack damage because he's got main damage, and the same will always go for bleed. Now she obviously has a active skill as well, and it's called Bleed and Exhaust, and it's deal 400 bleed damage and 250 exhaust for 3 turns to a line of enemies. Has an initial cooldown of 1 and a cooldown of 3. Now it's hard to know what exhaust even does at this point. When we look at the inbox message, the only part about exhaust is down the bottom, and it says new exhaust applies main for non-basic AP gain. I think we're going to need a little bit of a better explanation of what that even means, and we're trying to work it out on my stream, and it could be based on AP from weapons, leader skill, buffs, you know, anything like that. So effectively if you were to use this on someone like Dr. Stevens turn 1, you could use the active skill and it exhausts him, and based on the AP he gains that isn't part of his basic attacks, which would basically be his active skill straight away, he would instantly get maimed for it, but how much maim that is unclear right now. So I think we're going to have to have an example of what this even means, but I think it's to try and counter someone like Dr. Stevens, those sort of AP gain characters which are generally speaking an issue. It would also counter to a certain extent someone like Mercer, anyone who has AP gain on actives for other people, you know, that sort of thing. But obviously you're going to have to have actived already, and it can be hard to kind of predict that, except for someone like Dr. Stevens who you guaranteed know he's going to active turn 1. Now she does have a specialist skill, and I think it's one of the more useful ones at the moment, just based on the fact that these teams have such high defense, have a lot of HP, you know, these S-class peak teams. And the fact that she does bleed on her rush anyway means she can lacerate it the next turn to 800, then it can go to 1600. If you have a lacerator already and you use Elena at the same time, the amount of bleed that she can do is great, because one lacerator can lacerate one bleed and she can lacerate another, and it's going to be really nice damage, and the heal reduction means it can't get healed back up. You will of course run into characters that can cleanse heal reduction, or you might even start seeing heal reduction being used for resisting, but it's basically just throwing another bit of a tool in the mix on attack teams, especially needed against these really powerful defense teams that we're going to be seeing in the future. I'm talking about the Pete's double Prias, or you know, Priya and then Pete Priya again, just because there's 3 S-class characters that a lot of people can have basically if they spent enough money. Now she does have a weapon, and it's Elena's Violent Bow. It has 30% attack, a medium bonus to AP when attacking, and at the beginning of each wave this character gets focus for 8 turns. That means that at the beginning of a raid she'll get focus for 8 turns, but that's it. Now there is a character that counters this. It is going to be L, and L can remove that focus from Elena if she obviously rushes Elena, I believe. And that is something to mention in terms of, like, there is a direct counter for this already, but that is very strong. That means if a team has a shield on it, she can rush the central character And because she's not doing any damage with her rush, it's a guaranteed bleed behind Guardian Shields. It's a guaranteed heal reduction behind Guardian Shields. So she's got great potential for controlling these teams. Now the downside of this weapon obviously is she's got 30% attack on it, which she doesn't need. She doesn't need any attack. Defense or HP would have been better. I think this reminds me of Rick, who is in the Negan outfit, also a Lacerator. He had main damage, did no damage on his attacks, but also had, I believe, 30% attack on his weapon, where he didn't really need it, if I'm honest. So a bit of a disappointment in that, but I like the third slot special. She's going to be a character that's going to be used more on attack, even though you're probably going to gear her very defensively just because you do not need any attack stat. You could potentially just leave that 30% there and just maybe do extra basic attacks, but there's no real bonus to doing that. You might as well replace it with defense, give a huge AP on attack, and get that up to 35% defense or 35% HP, whichever one you feel for. I think Elena is pretty good, and I think she's going to be very good at countering these current dominating teams right now. But there are definitely characters out there that can help out those dominating teams with just cleansing, heal reduction, cleansing bleed, which is definitely a thing. You know, Zachary, full team cleanse would remove everything on her rush. So if a Zachary's behind these characters, there's issues. But then again, if a Zachary's behind these characters, you can focus him and you can be safe knowing that he's going to be heal blocked and not going to be able to receive any heals, and also he's not going to be able to be revived if you take him down for 3 turns. So it's definitely a mixed bag. She is the first tough Lacerator, I want to say. I'm saying that with a fair bit of confidence right now, but I could be wrong. She's definitely the first generation 2 Lacerator. I said that with less confidence. Yes, because there's Martinez. There we go. See, sometimes I remember stuff. She is okay. I think she's pretty good. And now when it comes to the promo wheel, she isn't one of these stupid characters where you have to collect ice cream cones or bits of butter and stuff to get her. She's just a straight pull promo, and that is probably the way a lot of people prefer their promos, if I'm honest. I'm most likely going to do a temple because of that, and she could actually fit on one of my attack teams right now. But that is Elena. Do tell me what you think about her. Will you be pulling for her? Do you think she's a good character? But that's the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.